Hi again then guys, and so we've got another Gran Turismo 6 replica build for you today, and this time it's for a pretty extreme aftermarket tuner car from a company which I personally really hope gets featured on Gran Turismo in the future, Hennessey, as you'll have seen from the title. And this is another Viper, so the Viper of course has been featured quite a bit on the channel over the past couple of days, not intentionally, funnily enough. But this particular tune is for the Hennessey Viper Venom 800 Twin Turbo. There's a plethora of different Vipers offered from Hennessey, the 650R, the 800 Twin Turbo, the 1000 Twin Turbo, the 1100, the 1200, etc. This particular version was the one that I chose because it's fast enough to be a genuinely extreme car, but it's also not so much that it would just end up being like a fully tuned Viper just with a wing, because I don't want it just to be pointless. Everyone upgrades the Viper, so that would just be, as I said, pointless. So this is genuinely different to what most people would do with the Viper. It's running nowhere near the full power, but still a very fast car in a straight line and around the track. It's pretty easy to get the visual look on this car. Obviously the actual Hennessey Viper Venom has a custom body kit and a custom wing which we cannot get on the game. There's nothing we can do about that though, of course. Now I'm building this on, of course, the 2002 Premium Viper GTS, which is the one that you need in order to do this with. So, as always, I'll show you first of all what I've done to get the visual look of the car, then we'll go over to the tuning garage for the mechanical setup, and finally out to the track to see what it's capable of. So for this particular visual replica, we've gone for the Type A body modification, which is a very slight change to the under-chin lip spoiler at the front. We have, of course, not fitted the flat floor on this one. I guess you could if you wanted to, but it doesn't really look accurate to the real car. For the rear wing, we've gone for the special manufacturer's wing. And for the rims, we've gone for standard size, and they are BBS RS rims, which are almost exactly the type of rims used on the real car. You can't fit any additional meters on this one. As far as the colour of the car itself, well, you can get it in pretty much any colour, so you can choose from a wide variety really. There is no, strictly speaking, wrong colour for this car. But the colour that I've gone for is active red, which really looks good, I think, basically, for the Viper. It looks pretty accurate to the real Hennessey's red that they offer. I'm not sure if it's a factory colour or aftermarket. I think it's probably factory, but who knows. But anyway, that colour, if you want that one, actually comes from the Nismo R34, which is from the Nismo dealership. It's the R tune. It's only available in that particular red. And for the rims, we've gone for chrome, and those are silver chrome. There are, of course, two primary chromes. There's number 9 or silver chrome. I think you can only get that from the seasonal events, unfortunately. As far as I'm aware, there's no car that you can get that with. Thankfully though, even if you haven't unlocked either of the chromes, the rims are pretty close to chrome anyway. And for the brakes, we've gone for the same red as for the body. So a pretty simple visual look to achieve on this car. So now let's go over to the tuning garage for the mechanical setup. Now, as far as the mechanical side of things with this car, this is of course a street-based tune, be it a pretty extreme one. So I've gone for sport soft tyres, but obviously that's down to personal preference. For the suspension, we've got the ride height on 80, front and rear, springs on 725 and 875, dampers and anti-roll to 4, camber pretty minimal on this one on 1, neutral toe. For the gearbox, we're actually running the real gear ratios of the actual Hennessey 800 Twin Turbo. Now, if I remember correctly, I believe I had to do a gearbox flip for this one. I think I flipped it, if I remember correctly, from 3.2 or 3.3. But just check that against yours to make sure that is the case. So for any who are unfamiliar, you want to take your auto setting up to the maximum, then come down to your final drive, set it on, as I said, 3.2 or 3.3 if I remember correctly. Then come back to your auto setting, click it down and up a peg, and that will allow you to hit these individual gears of 2.66, 1.78, 1.30, 1, 0.74 and 0.50, and then the final drive on this car is 3070. For the diff, we've got initial torque on 20, maximum acceleration and a braking sensitivity of 10. As far as the power, this one does have an oil change, and then as far as the power itself, you want the Stage 3 engine tune and the sports computer and the intake tuning, and then reduce the power down to 835 horsepower, which, contrary to the name, is actually the amount of power that the 800 twin turbo has. Downforce we're running to the maximum. Obviously there's room for personal variation there. You want Stage 1 weight reduction, and then a 169 kilo ballast, which we've left in the dead centre of the car, which brings us up to 1,565 kilos, which is the exact weight of the real car. So that's it for the tune setup. Now let's take it out to the track to see what it can do. Now overall, for a car with well over 800 horsepower, you'd expect it to be probably a little bit leery to drive. But it's actually remarkably forgiving, and I actually mentioned that in my review for this car last night, but the Viper, especially in this generation, is a remarkably forgiving car even when fully tuned. This particular tune is, of course, not exact in every way to the real car. For instance, it does have more torque than the real car, and also the real car is fairly obviously twin turbocharged, whereas we cannot do that on the game. But in the main ways that matter, which are, for the most part, the look, the power, the weight, and the gear ratios, it is accurate to the real car. So if you decide to use this replica, of course I hope you find it fun, and if you'd like to see more tunes and replicas like this as soon as they come out, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and as always, thanks for watching.
We'll be right back.